Okay, let's dive in. We're talking today about um, a world filled with that super fast dialogue, high stakes idealism, characters who are just incredibly smart, almost buzzing with confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking Aaron Sorkin.
Exactly, Aaron Sorkin. His style is so, well, it even created its own visual trademark, the walk and talk.
That's right. Sorkin, you think of him and you think blistering pace, right? That constant search for the perfect line. And his work, I mean, it covers film, television, the stage, some of the biggest hits in each.
And our sources today, they really trace this amazing journey. It's complex, sometimes a bit contradictory, showing how this guy, a struggling actor in New York, becomes this huge award-winning filmmaker.
Yeah.
Academy Awards, BAFTAs, Emmys.
Right, and often capturing something about the national mood or, trying to shape it.
So our mission here is to go deeper than just listing his credits.
Mm.
We really want to map out this career, look for those patterns in his work, where that really intense style came from.
The collaborations he had, those dynamics.
Yeah, and crucially, the personal stuff, too. The battles that kind of shaped everything over decades, what's really driving him.
And that's what the source material really gets into, that internal engine. We've got some really interesting points coming up. They show how things like fate and maybe even deep self-doubt played a part in his success.
Okay.
We're going to unpack that exact moment he realized writing gave him this phenomenal confidence, he called it, a feeling he apparently didn't have anywhere else in his life.
Wow.
And how just one phone call, seemingly ordinary, about a hazing incident sparked a few good men, his huge Broadway breakthrough.
Right.
And we'll also look at what it was really like, being in that long partnership where one guy just writes and the other handles the whole visual side of things.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Aaron Sorkin's roots. Born Aaron Benjamin Sorkin, Manhattan, 1961, but raised mostly in Scarsdale, New York. Pretty affluent place, right?
Yeah, Scarsdale. And the family background is really key, I think, especially when you look at his later stuff, like The West Wing. He grew up in a Jewish family, big emphasis on law, civic duty, that sort of thing.
His mom was a teacher.
Right, the school teacher. But his dad was a copyright lawyer and a WWII vet who went to college on the GI Bill. Plus, both his older siblings also became lawyers. So there was this, expectation of intellectual achievement contributing.
And there's this great little nugget about his grandfather.
Oh, yeah.
His paternal grandfather was one of the founders of the ILGWU, the International Ladies Garment Workers Union.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just law, it's institution building. Labor rights, social justice.
Exactly. That kind of striving idealism seems baked in. You can almost draw a line from that to characters like President Bartlett or Will McAvoy later on.
Totally. It's this appreciation for the system, legal, political, unions, whatever, and this belief that ideally they should work perfectly.
But Sorkin himself, he wasn't aiming for law at first, or even writing. Acting was his thing initially.
Right. He was really into the drama club in high school, graduated 79, then went off to Syracuse University aiming for a BFA in musical theater. Got it in 83.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing there, was it? There was that setback early on.
Yeah. His freshman year, he failed some core requirement class, which sounds minor, but it apparently blocked him from getting on stage right away, which was like his whole world then.
That must have been tough.
Yeah, a real knock. But it led to some important advice. He talked about his theater teacher, Arthur Storch, telling him, dare to fail.
Dare to fail.
Which wasn't just about accepting failure, but more like encouraging big swings, taking risks for something important. Sorkin said he's kind of followed that ever since, tackling these huge, ambitious topics.
So after Syracuse, he moves to New York City and hits that classic struggling actor phase in the 80s. And it sounds like it was genuinely a struggle.
Oh, yeah. The sources paint a picture of real desperation. He was doing all sorts of odd jobs just to get by, driving a limo.
Singing telegrams. Really?
Singing telegrams, handing out flyers for like a hunting and fishing show, and maybe the most important one, bartending at the Palace Theater on Broadway.
And it's there, amidst all that he starts writing, almost by accident.
Pretty much. He was house sitting for a friend, found this computer with the typewriter function, and he just started writing. And he described it as the first time he ever felt this phenomenal confidence, this kind of joy he'd never known.
That's such a key insight, isn't it, that feeling? He connects it directly to feeling like a screw-up in actual conversation, his social anxiety.
Exactly. Writing wasn't just a job for him. It was like a psychological tool. He said he writes to enter the world. On the page, he could control it all. Make the dialogue perfect, witty, fast, smart.
It's like he's compensating for how he felt in real-time interactions. creating these hyper-articulate characters.
That drive for verbal perfection defines everything. And it started translating into actual plays pretty quickly.
His first one, Removing All Doubt, was put on back at Syracuse in '84. Then Hidden in This Picture, off Broadway in '88. That got him an agent.
A crucial step. But then came the really big one, A Few Good Men. And the origin story is wild.
It wasn't some long research project.
Nope. Just a quick phone call, maybe 10 minutes, with his sister Deborah. She was a lawyer in the Navy JAG Corps.
Oh, okay.
And she just mentioned she was off to Guantanamo Bay to defend some Marines in a hazing case. An order came down from a superior, apparently.
And that becomes A Few Good Men.
That's the spark. And the legend part is he supposedly wrote a lot of the initial ideas, the dialogue, on cocktail napkins while he was bartending at the palace.
Seriously, cocktail napkins, that fits the Sorkin image perfectly, doesn't it? That intense, high-pressure creation.
He'd transcribe them later, but what's amazing is his confidence. He sold the film rights for A Few Good Men to producer David Brown.
Before the play even opened.
Before it even hit Broadway, for apparently well into six figures. That's incredible belief in your own stuff before anyone else has really validated it.
And the play was a hit when it opened in '89. Ran for almost 500 performances.
Yep. And that film rights sale, total game changer, especially when the movie came out in '92. Directed by Rob Reiner, mentored by the great William Goldman.
Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson. Huge.
Massive. Made almost $250 million worldwide. Suddenly, Sorkin wasn't the struggling playwright anymore. He was a major Hollywood screenwriter.
Wow. So that movie really kicked off the next phase, the Castle Rock entertainment years, early to mid-'90s, working under contract.
Right. And this was like his professional film school, really.
Totally. He got tighter with Rob Reiner, got mentored by William Goldman. I mean, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The sources say when he was adapting A Few Good Men, he was literally learning screenplay format from a book in his apartment.
Learning on the job. He also co-wrote the thriller Malice around then with Scott Frank, showing some range. But the really big one from that period was The American President in '95, another Reiner-Goldman connection.
And the story behind that script says a lot, doesn't it? About his writing process, maybe his struggle with editing. It started as this enormous 385-page draft.
Yeah, way too long for a movie. He had to cut it down massively to a standard shooting script. That tendency towards, lots and lots of dialogue, complex plots, that would definitely show up later in his TV work.
Absolutely. But the success was undeniable. A Few Good Men, Malice, The American President, together they made something like $400 million globally. That's a phenomenal run.
Especially for someone who started the decade writing on napkins behind a bar.
He also did some script doctoring in the late '90s.
Right!
Uncredited work.
Yeah, that's important. Script doctors often get called in specifically for dialogue, pacing, character stuff.
Perfect for Sorkin?
Exactly. He apparently punched up dialogue for Sean Connery and Nick Cage in The Rock. Rewrote some of Will Smith's scenes in Enemy of the State.
So all this film work, plus the deep dive into White House stuff for The American President, that really paved the way for TV, didn't it?
Absolutely. Which brings us to Sports Night.
Ah, Sports Night. Love that show. And the origin is classic Sorkin Reddit. Watching ESPN SportsCenter on repeat while writing The American President.
Yep, at the Four Seasons. Couldn't crack it as a movie, so he pitched it as a TV comedy to ABC, debuted in '98.
But right away, there was that clash, wasn't there? Him versus the network over the laugh track.
Oh, yeah. He fought them hard on the laugh track and the live studio audience. He said something like, sometimes you need that cymbal crash, but other times it just pulls you out, ruins the drama he was mixing in.
And the critics kind of agreed. ABC did eventually phase it out mostly.
He did. But even though critics loved it, industry people loved it, the ratings just weren't there. Cancel after 2 seasons.
A tough lesson, maybe. That his style didn't automatically click in a half-hour format for a mass audience.
Perhaps, but just as Sports Night was wrapping up, his biggest hit ever was getting started, The West Wing.
Which came out of leftover ideas from the American President research.
Basically, yeah. He pitched producer John Wells back in '97 a whole show about the White House senior staff.
And the timing with the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal actually delayed it. NBC was nervous.
Yeah, NBC held off. They were worried, that people wouldn't buy into this idealistic White House show while the real one was in turmoil.
But maybe that delay helped. Let it build some buzz.
Could be. It definitely gave them time to refine it. When it finally debuted in fall '99, it was huge, instantly. Won a record 9 Emmys its first season, changed political TV drama completely.
Speaking of Emmys,
Yeah.
That period also had that big controversy, right? The writing credit dispute for the episode In Excelsis Deo, Sorkin versus Rick Cleveland.
Right. That blew up very publicly on some web forum, caused a real stir. Cleveland's story was based on his own father, a homeless Korean War vet.
And Sorkin's take was?
Sorkin basically said he gave writers story-by credits, sometimes as, like, a favor, a gratuity to help their careers. And then he claimed he'd thrown out Cleveland's script entirely and wrote it himself from page one. Total control.
That's a bold claim?
Yeah.
But then he later apologized.
He did apologize later, which, maybe suggests the pressure he was under. Well, think about it. He was writing basically every single episode of The West Wing for the first 4 seasons. That's 87 scripts.
That's insane output.
Totally insane. He admitted they were never on time or on budget during that period. The pressure to maintain that singular vision, that speed, it must have been immense. And probably led to tensions with the writing staff who felt, overlooked.
And eventually, that pressure cooker situation led to him and Thomas Schlam leaving the show in 2003. Internal conflicts was the official line.
Right. And Sorkin never watched it again after he left.
He had that famous quote, didn't he? Comparing it to...
Watching somebody make out with my girlfriend? Yeah. Perfectly sums up how he felt he didn't just write those characters, he owned them.
Let's pause on Schlam for a second, because their collaboration was key to the show's look, right? The invention of the walk and talk.
Absolutely essential. It was Schlam's creation. He directed, was exec producer on Sports Night West Wing Studio 60. The walk and talk isn't just people walking while talking. It's these long, single tracking shots, characters moving constantly through the set, talking fast, entering, exiting, no cuts.
So Schlam basically did that to handle Sorkin's dialogue, to stop it feeling static.
Pretty much. Sorkin's scripts were so dense they could easily feel like stage plays on screen. Schlam said the walk and talk made sure the audience witnessed every journey, turning policy debates into something visually dynamic, urgent, like ballet with briefcases.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, so after West Wing, their next big thing was Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, back to TV, 2006-07, about a sketch comedy show, like SNL.
And Sorkin admitted it had autobiographical elements, which maybe isn't surprising given the focus on writers, pressure, network politics.
The pilot did really well, ratings-wise, didn't it? But then it dropped off fast.
Yeah. Big initial numbers, then a steep decline. And Sorkin got really defensive about the media coverage, attacking the press for focusing on the ratings, using blogs and unemployed comedy writers as sources, he called them.
It shows that sensitivity again, about competence and criticism.
Right.
It only lasted 1 season.
Just one. After that, he actually pivoted back to the stage for a bit with The Farnsworth Invention, 2007-08.
Which started as a movie script.
Yeah, a spec script about Philo Farnsworth, the guy who invented TV, and his big patent fight with David Sarnoff at RCA.
And he workshopped it as a play.
He did. It was initially commissioned by the Abbey Theatre in Dublin. That fell through. But then it went through this page-to-stage program at La Jolla Playhouse. Let him test it, tweak it based on audience reactions. Smart way to tighten up complex historical stuff.
Okay, so that brings us into the next big phase, really. Mastering the biopic, cementing that film legacy, roughly 2007 to 2015.
Right. He jumped back into features with Charlie Wilson's War in 2007, adapting that nonfiction book about the congressman funding the secret war in Afghanistan.
Got a Golden Globe nomination for that. Seems like a bridge maybe between the idealism of West Wing and the trickier morality you need in biopics.
Good point. And then came the one that really brought home the gold, The Social Network in 2010. Based on The Accidental Billionaires, the Facebook story.
Yeah, let's not just list it. This film was huge for him. Academy Award, BAFTA, Golden Globe for Best Adapted Screenplay. Why that script? Why was Sorkin, Mr. Fast Talker, the guy to write about Mark Zuckerberg, someone known for being awkward, not super verbal?
That's the genius of it, I think. Sorkin took all the intellectual property fights, the emotional betrayal, the tech jargon, and framed it within these 2 depositions, so he turned it into verbal combat. The courtroom, or deposition room, is his natural habitat. The whole movie runs on the energy of those arguments, the speed, the wit. It's not about physical action. It's about dialogue as a weapon, showing power, intellect, resentment.
Makes sense. And then right after that, another big adaptation. Moneyball in 2011. Co-written. Totally different challenge. How do you make baseball stats exciting?
Moneyball was about Billy Beane using data analysis in baseball. Sorkin got Oscar, BAFTA, Golden Globe noms for it again. Rolling Stone called the script dynamite. He managed to turn sabermetrics into this, emotional struggle against the old guard. The dialogue makes the math feel rebellious,
Yeah. Then he went back to TV again
Yeah.
with The Newsroom on HBO, 2012 to 2014, his fourth big series, this time cable news.
And his research was deep. He reportedly spent time shadowing crews at MSNBC, talking to people at CNN, Fox News. He really wanted to nail the competence, the mechanics of the newsroom.
And his goal was kind of explicitly anti-cynical, wasn't it? Using real news events from the recent past.
Exactly. He wanted to show these highly competent people trying to do good journalism despite all the pressures, commercial, political, corporate.
Which ties back to that core philosophy you mentioned. Somebody wants something and something's in the way. Here, it's good journalism versus, well, everything else.
Right. That drive for competence against obstacles defines it all. Lawsuits, policy, elections, news.
The last big film in this period was Steve Jobs in 2015, based on the Isaacson biography. Huge figure, huge challenge.
Massive. Sorkin even hesitated, saying it was like writing about the Beatles because everyone felt they knew Jobs. His solution was really structural.
How so?
He structured it around just 3 specific moments backstage right before 3 major product launches. High pressure, real-time feel. Again, channeling all the complexity and emotion purely through intense dialogue in confined spaces.
And he won another Golden Globe for that screenplay,
Yeah.
but got snubbed for the Oscar nom, which people thought was weird.
Yeah, that was seen as a pretty big oversight at the time.
So the next logical step, maybe, for someone so focused on vision directing.
Exactly. The next phase is Sorkin taking the reins himself, stepping behind the camera, really wanting that complete control, writing and directing.
It started with Molly's Game in 2017, adapting Molly Bloom's memoir about her poker empire. Jessica Chastain, Idris Elba.
His official debut as director. And even with the new job, he still got his 3rd Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. Showed he could handle both sides.
Then he tackled something even bigger, the trial of the Chicago 7 in 2020, which had been kicking around for ages, right? Spielberg offered it to him way back.
Yeah, back in 2006. So it had over a decade to kind of percolate. He ended up writing and directing it. Perfect Sorkin territory. Courtroom drama, major political moment, lots of clashing ideologies expressed through.
Rapid-fire dialogue.
Got it. High-stakes arguments.
And it worked. Won the Golden Globe for screenplay, got nominated for Best Director too. He used that same writer-director approach for Being the Ricardos next in 2021.
Focusing on Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, that intense marriage and creative partnership, especially during one crazy week of I Love Lucy.
But the reception for that one was more mixed, wasn't it?
Yeah, the sources indicate that. People praise the dialogue, naturally, but some critics felt it lacked spark or insight. Maybe suggesting his very specific style doesn't always capture the nuances of real, beloved historical figures perfectly. Can feel a bit Sorkinized.
Interesting. He also went back to the stage around this time. Adapted To Kill a Mockingbird for Broadway in 2018. Huge success. Got 9 Tony nominations.
Right. And then, more recently, 2023, he rewrote the book for the revival of Camelot. Taking on a classic musical like that shows he's still interested in structure, in fixing narratives, not just creating new ones.
And he's not slowing down.
Yeah.
Working on a film about Al Schwimmer, who founded the Israeli Air Force. And the big news for film fans.
The Social Network sequel?
Yes, The Social Reckoning. Based on the Facebook Files documents. Set for 2026. He'd hinted at it, blamed Facebook for January 6th. Sounds like he's ready to tackle tech's impact again.
Yeah, seems like he's still focused on competence versus failure within these massive systems, political and technological.
Okay, so let's dig into the style itself. The Sorkin signature. What are the absolute key elements?
Well, obviously, the trademark fast dialogue, those long, smart monologues, the back-and-forth banter, often full of obscure pop culture references, delivered super quick. It creates this feeling of, like, thrilling intelligence.
And William Goldman, his mentor, had that great observation right. That usually you avoid long speeches in movies, but Sorkin can do it because the speeches are the action. They're not just talk.
Exactly. But that style definitely has its critics. Some say the scripts are overwrought, too complicated, trying too hard.
And that old issue of writing credit keeps popping up. Even compared to Hollywood standards, some ex-writers called him exceptionally ungenerous.
Yeah, he maintains his scripts aren't written by committee, but it points to that real sense of ownership he has over the words.
It even became a meme, didn't it? The Sorkinisms videos.
Yeah. Fans compiling all the times he reused certain lines or phrases or arguments across different projects. He acknowledged them, which is something, but it does highlight, certain patterns in his writing.
But maybe the most persistent criticism is about his female characters, which feels odd for someone who champions idealism and competence. What did the sources say about that? Is it a blind spot?
It's a frequent critique. Commentators point out his female characters are often secondary, there to support the men, or sometimes depicted as, well, maybe less competent, needing rescuing. There are exceptions, of course, but the overall pattern suggests his world of high-stakes rational argument doesn't always make space for equally complex female leads. They often end up as the moral compass or the love interest, not the main driver.
Interesting. Now, we have to talk about the personal side, too. The stuff that maybe fueled the work or existed alongside it, specifically his struggles with addiction. It's that core tension again. Idealistic writer, chaotic personal life.
Yeah, he started using marijuana and cocaine back in '87. Said cocaine helped with nervous tension.
He went to rehab in '95.
Yes, Hazelden in Minnesota. Apparently his future wife, Julia Bingham, encouraged him to go. But even after getting some recognition for being clean, he had that major, very public relapse in 2001.
And this was while writing The West Wing, the show about moral competence.
Exactly. April 2001, arrested at Burbank Airport. Possession of mushrooms, marijuana, crack cocaine, a crack pipe. The contrast is just stark, isn't it? Writing peak idealism while dealing with that level of addiction, it kind of defines that incredibly productive yet turbulent period.
He got court-ordered into a drug program, but he did get clean later.
Yeah, in a 2012 speech at Syracuse, he announced he'd been clean for 11 years at that point. But his marriage to Julia Bingham ended in 2005, and reports cited his workaholism and drug use as factors. There was clearly a personal cost to that relentless output.
Politically, he's always been pretty clear, right? Democrats.
It's a consistent supporter, yeah. Makes significant campaign donations. But he makes a distinction himself. He doesn't call himself an activist, says that takes more than writing a check. He sees his job as asking questions, exploring ideas, not necessarily leading a movement.
And more recently, he had that health scare.
Yeah, a stroke in November 2022. Hypertension. He called it a loud wake-up call.
Did it change things for him?
Big time. Forced him to quit chain smoking, which you imagine fueled some of those crazy writing jags, change his diet, start exercising. Another sign of the physical toll that intensity took.
And finally, just recently, his politics and professional life collided very publicly.
Right. In 2023, during the Gaza conflict, he very publicly dropped his agent at CAA because someone high up there made a post critical of Israel. At the same time, Sorkin was signing letters calling for Israeli hostages to be released. It shows those strong convictions he writes about. They directly influence his real-world actions, too.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, we followed Aaron Sorkin from bartending and discovering writing on a borrowed typewriter to being this absolute giant of modern drama.
Yeah, winning the biggest awards, Oscar, Emmys, Tonys, potentially implied by nominations, defining the whole genre of modern political drama, demanding that complete creative control.
His legacy really is that massive output, that control, whether it's the walk and talk with Schlam or directing his own complex biopics like Steve Jobs or Chicago 7. He takes really dense, smart material policy, tech, ethics, and makes it feel urgent and emotional through that signature dialogue.
Absolutely. The sources really paint his career as this constant search for competence, for idealism, often happening while he's navigating personal chaos or professional friction. His scripts work best when his hypersmart characters want something badly, face huge obstacles, but believe the system can work if the right, competent people are in charge.
Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener. We know Sorkin's view of drama. Somebody wants something, and something or someone is standing in the way. So if his characters are always the smartest, most articulate people in the room, what really stands in their way most often across all his work? Is it maybe self-doubt, echoing his own early feelings? Is it the moral compromises they have to make? Or is it just the messy reality of the institutions, the politics, the media, the courts that they're trying so hard to perfect? Something to think about.